Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this career guidance webinar. Today, we will be discussing internships in the United States and how to search for those internships. My name is Fatima Nicholson. I am the program manager for the Career Training USA program here at InterExchange. I'm joined by my colleague, Fatima Rodriguez, and I'll let Fatima introduce herself.
Hi everyone, my name is Fatima Rodriguez. I'm the Communications and Recruitment Coordinator here at InterExchange, and I'm excited to share with you some ways to search for internships in the US with Taman.
Excellent, thank you, Fatima. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with InterExchange, we are a cultural exchange organization based in New York City, and we assist students and young professionals to engage in programs in the United States, and students and young professionals in the United States to engage in programs overseas. The Career Training USA program specifically works with interns and trainees who are interested in coming to the United States to train in or intern and receive skills related to what they've studied in university or some skills they have in past professional experiences. Over the last 6 months or so, we've been conducting a series of career guidance webinars to help prospective interns and trainees maximize this time to prepare for internships and traineeships in the United States. And today we're going to focus on the actual search component portion of this process. So just some quick notes before we get started. There's a large group online right now, so we have everyone muted. If you do have any questions, just type them into the chat box and we'll answer them as they come up or towards the end of the presentation when we have some dedicated question and answer time. There will also be a recording of this webinar that's sent out to everyone who is registered or attended, so you will get a recording if you need to step away or if your sound cuts out or something like that. With that, let's move into the outline of today's presentation. So today we're going to talk about what is an internship in the context of a US internship, why intern in the US. We're going to talk about the internship search timeline and give some tips on how participants in the past have found these international internships. And then we'll talk about how to prepare for your internship search, dive into some internship search tips that we'll go through, and then we'll have some question and answers towards the end of that. So with that, I'm going to toss it over to Fatima to get us started and talk about what is an internship.
Thank you, Taman. So as he just mentioned, we're going to start off this webinar with defining what exactly an internship is. So an internship is a short-term work-based learning experience offered by an organization in many different industries. And this can last anywhere from several months to 1 year. And you also may receive financial compensation or even school credit once you do this internship. In addition to that, many students do gain valuable work experience and they're able to explore a career path. So it's really important to do an internship as part of your undergraduate career or even at some point in your career to just kind of explore a different career path. And many of you are probably already familiar with what an internship entails and essentially the benefits of doing one in your home country. But we're going to take a further look as to why you should do an internship in the United States and how that would propel your career. So why intern in the United States? So an internship abroad adds great value on your resume, and typically these are the responses that we get from interns when we do interviews to gauge our rationale as to why they do these internships. So many of our participants want to gain international experience along with the knowledge and skills you would learn on the job. Because US workplaces are known for their dynamic and innovative workplaces, such as an open floor plan, or even many companies' headquarters are located in the United States, participants want to have the ability to access this. And in turn, additionally, some organizations are also looking for international interns in order to diversify their work, staff, and ideas to projects that they're currently working on. And this also in turn increases the ability for interns to have a driving component in a company's organizational goals and missions. So Every country has a different process of how things work, regardless of what the field is. So being exposed to new technologies and methodologies would help interns and students like yourselves build their marketability when they are looking for jobs or when they're looking for additional internships. And by doing this, by doing an internship in the United States, you're also able to work with different professionals in your field. You're having that one-on-one time with them, and that allows you to start building your network once you do graduate and you're looking for a job. So by doing an internship in the US, this also increases your English speaking and intercultural communication skills, whether this is because you have to practice your business English in the office amongst your colleagues, or because you're engaging with other Americans outside of the office and you're getting to know each other's culture. Lastly, many participants want to come to the United States to become more independent and confident. You know, it really does take a lot of guts to move to the United States and begin interning in a foreign country that really differs from your own culture. And being able to find an apartment on your own, navigating public transport potentially, and just becoming more proficient in another language will definitely increase your confidence and increase your marketability once you do return to your home country. So here are some anecdotes of why previous career training participants wanted to intern in the United States. As you can see, both of these interns are Italian participants, and Eduardo mentions how he wanted to impact as many people as he can with his design and products that he's produced, and he wants to help people access other services and fantasy interactive works with big clients. While Beatrice thought that the United States is a great opportunity to launch her career, since many companies are based in the US with different offices around the world. And in her country in particular, it is desirable to have international experience, and she really wanted to set herself apart in Italy. So these are just some things to consider about why you should intern in the United States and how it really can impact you professionally and allow you to have more opportunities once you do return to your home country. So in order to intern in the United States, there are certain visa rules that you must be aware of before you begin applying for an internship. So the career training program is open to participants who are currently enrolled full-time or have recently graduated within 12 months of their internship start date. And if you did recently graduate, you would need to submit your application within 10 months of graduation just to ensure that your application runs smoothly and that you receive your visa. And then you also must be outside of the United States at the time of applying. In addition, your internship must be directly related to your field of study. So even if you have professional background in a particular field, your internship program needs to relate to your coursework. The program is meant to bridge academic theory and practical knowledge. However, if you do have 1 year of professional experience and you have graduated, the trainee program may be a better fit for you, which is just another category of the career training program. So in addition to the first two criteria, your internship also must be full-time with a minimum of 32 hours a week and a maximum of 45 hours a week. And while you're in the United States, we want you to have exposure to US culture in and out of the workplace. And host employers will also have that same ability to interact and understand your culture and assist you with providing culturally rich experiences for participants like yourself and ensure that exchange takes place. Also, your host employer must provide you with a training plan, and this will be developed by your host employer since they will be providing the training. While InterExchange will not be writing your training plan, we are responsible for reviewing all aspects of the training plan to make sure that the internship meets your goals and that you're learning different business practices and you're engaged with local culture. And lastly, your internship cannot be any clerical work or any unskilled labor or casual labor or casual positions. Your internship is meant for professional development, and another way we ensure that is that your host employer is required to have at least 5 full-time employees on site to ensure that you're constantly being supervised and that you're in fact learning learning the kind of skill sets that you meant to seek out while you're in the United States. So what is the typical typical search timeline? This is kind of a question that a lot of us that we typically get, and this is the data that we compiled from 2019 to 2020 interviews with prospective applicants, and a majority, about 62%, of the applicants has spent more than 3 months searching and planning for an internship in the United States. So as you can see, it is really important to start your internship search timeline early. So for example, if you're looking for an internship next summer, this time right now is a great time to really start searching for your internship. And this is because international internships in particular can be a little bit more difficult to secure, and there's additional work needed to establish contact with the company and design a successful training plan that meet your requirements and the host's needs. And perhaps you need to gather paperwork from your school, and then of course to keep in mind there's the visa process that you need to consider when you're when considering your internship search timeline. So here's our recommended search timeline. We are going to spend the bulk of this webinar discussing tips for the second step in this graphic, which is the actual search and internship identification stage. However, we cannot get to this stage without first discussing search preparation. We're going to go through some best practices for search preparation, then we'll dive into the actual internship search timeline tips. And just as a reminder, there are other webinars on our YouTube channel that address writing cover letters, preparing interviews, and other more specific aspects for applying for internships with US companies, which we'll share with you the link to our YouTube channel during this follow-up, so you can learn a little bit more about how to go about that. So as our first search prep, it's really important to start defining your goals for an internship. Think about what is the kind of internship that is best for you. What are your objectives and motivation? What type of learning experience would you like to carry out, and in what context? Think about what skills you want to develop or implement, and what type of company structure are you looking for. Then it's important to determine your constraints. Think about your location, the educational objectives, stipend and benefits. What is your savings? Can you afford to accept an unpaid internship? Are you only able to accept an internship in a certain city or region? And what are the education objectives for this internship for you? And will you be getting academic credit? And you must be clear about your personal expectations and priorities. Sometimes interns want to check that they're on the right track by starting to apply classroom knowledge. For those who are more advanced, developing more specific skills in a field of activity or expanding their professional network through new mentorship is a key for interning abroad, while other participants, a setting outside of their comfort zone really allows them to look at an industry that they knew really well from a different perspectives. And essentially, you know, whatever your goals are, take stock of your training, skills, and interests before you begin applying, and don't be afraid to reevaluate your goals if they have changed or during your internship search process. So now we're going to discuss another internship search prep, and that is to stay up to date with employer hiring updates, industry news, and events. So when searching for employers you'd like to work with, it would be best to first check and see which employers are still hiring or have hiring freezes. This will allow you to know where to allocate most of your time during the application process. So Levels, and Candor are both online platforms that assist individuals with salary negotiation. However, they have taken the time to maintain a list of companies who have hiring freezes and who are also continuing to hire during these uncertain times. So if you really would like to work for a particular company that isn't hiring, just add the employer to your spreadsheet where you're keeping track of all the employers that you've applied with, and follow up with them to see if there are any changes to their hiring. This just allows you to maintain a good list of, again, where you should really concentrate your time and who you should be concentrating on applying with. And in addition to this, there are many companies that will also create a company page on LinkedIn to represent themselves and also build their online presence. So by following companies where you are interested in working, you can really stay current with company news, and updates will also show on your feed, or when you visit their profile, you can learn more about them. You can see who works there, see if there are any positions listed on their company page, and again, overall, just learn more about the company and what they do, just so you're more knowledgeable and can have a better understanding about whether or not that host employer would be a good fit for you. You can also invite people or employees at this company to connect with, and also remember to include a personalized message if you decide to connect with them. And just something to keep in mind, even if they're not the right person to speak with about current job openings, that person can probably tell you who you should contact, or even put you directly in touch with the person that you need to speak with. Another great perk to connecting with people on LinkedIn this way is that you can also request informational interviews with an employee at that company to get more background on their positions, or if you have any further questions about certain projects the company is working on. This really shows initiative and can separate you from other candidates. So as part of your internship search prep, you can consider of these some of these factors that we've listed here to prepare for your internship. So let's say maybe you were hoping to do an internship this spring or fall, but you weren't unable to given the current climate of the world at this moment. Here at InterExchange, we like to think that any experience is good experience as part of preparing yourself for your resume to apply for an internship. So some things that you can consider is other building educational opportunities that are available to you. Think about what skills are in demand right now in your industry. Maybe that would be data analytics, project management, or more harder skills. There are also research grants, scholarships, financial aid, and COVID-19 relief measures at a national, state, and local level that you can research into before committing to added education right now if you were to want to take additional courses at a university. You can also explore other free remote courses and certifications on websites such as Coursera, or maybe those even offered by your state or local academic institutions. So there are an abundance of different skill building educational opportunities that you can take advantage of in the meantime. Additionally, you can also use this time to find an interim job to improve your qualifications on your resume. And this is because real work experience, whether it's where you can obtain transferable skills and soft skills like problem solving, remote communication, and even time-sensitive work that are typically common in these seasonal jobs. And this can help support your career no matter what you plan for your future. And in addition to that, being able to find work now could show future employers that you are adaptable and are able to overcome unprecedented unexpected challenges. Um, Another thing that you can consider is doing an externship. And externships are short-term job shadowing or shortened internships. And these are perfect ways to test out your interests and can also be great networking opportunities. There are places like your career center where they often recruit alumni volunteers to host a student on site for a day or even a week. And there are many times when a host would ask if it was okay if he offered a student an internship as a result of having that externship. And lastly, consider doing volunteer work. There are websites such as idealist.org where you can find volunteer positions in your industry as well. And this will also be a great addition to your resume to help you build your resume when you are applying for an internship in the United States, because again, it really shows that you're proactive and that you're taking the steps to keep busy and to learn more about your field of study and to grow professionally. So with that, I'm going to pass this over to Tamit, who'll discuss a little bit more about how interns find their internships.
Excellent. Thank you, Fatima. Before I start, we have a couple questions that have come in. And one I want to ask you because it directly relates to the last slide. Would you recommend that someone who has recently graduated or is about to graduate, should they be looking for internships right now, or should they be looking for professional entry-level jobs? What would be your recommendation in that case?
I think it would really depend on your professional goals. If you're really unsure about the direction of where you would like to go, an internship would definitely be a great opportunity for you to really dive in and learn more about what you want to do. And there are times actually when once you finish that internship, you can even be offered a full-time position. So it really depends on I would say it depends on your professional goals, but there are so many benefits to doing an internship right now and start looking for an internship if you are unsure about what direction you'd like your career to go. And you never know, there are times where maybe you don't like that position or that department, and you can learn a little bit more about a different department in that company. So there are different ways and different advantages to having an internship opportunity at this moment. But yeah, it's really, again, depending on your career goals and your objectives.
Great, thank you. And two other questions I'm just going to answer quickly that came in back when we were talking about eligibility. The first is whether there is an age limit to obtain a J1 intern visa, and there is no age limit for that category, for this category. The second question about eligibility is if it is possible to switch from an intern visa to a work visa in the United States. And again, that's not something that is possible with this visa because it is a cultural exchange program. So the intent of the program is to learn the skills related to your industry in the United States and then take that back with you to your home country once your internship does complete. But talking about how interns have found internships. So again, this is data, as Fatima said, that was compiled in 2019 and 2020 with interviews with prospective applicants. Placement companies and universities account for roughly about half of all the participants in how they found their internships. Those are probably the two most common routes for internship searches because they tend to be pretty successful if you have specific criteria. There are advantages and disadvantages to both routes though. Placement companies make it easier if you don't have a wide network in the United States, but the opportunities available through a placement company are going to be less tailored to your specific interests, and they're going to be subject to the connections of the placement company. And universities have connections and listings on their university database that's certainly going to relate to majors at your institution and your coursework, but it might be harder to stand out to host organizations if everyone from your university has the same theoretical background and same coursework. The left half of this pie, the other half of interns and trainees, they found their internship through a mix of either networking or close targeting within their specific fields. So we're going to classify these two sides of the pie into what would be the open market for internships and what would be the hidden market for finding internships. And we'll talk a little bit more about the pros and cons of both. But before we discuss the open and hidden market for internship searches, I do want to just touch on the benefits of self-source internships. Typically, we see a higher satisfaction rate for interns who have searched for and found their own internship versus those who were placed. This is for a number of reasons, but we thought it'd be useful to highlight the benefits of finding your own internship. It might sound daunting, but it's really not too bad. The first benefit is cost. You don't need a placement fee. You don't need to pay a placement fee, which can add thousands of dollars to the international internship process. Self-placed interns save a lot of money by just searching for an internship on their own. Interns who search for themselves are also able to find internships that better match their interests, their goals, and their desired learning objectives. There's a wide array of options available in the United States, so you aren't subject to connections or locations or the industry of a placement company. The internship search also contributes to important skills like independence, communication, and the ability to analyze varying offers and different opportunities. So it's really good practice for post-graduation life, as it's unlikely that someone will find your first job post-graduation for you. And for these reasons, host employers in the US look favorably on interns who pursue internships on their own, especially internship seekers who have done their research and are well prepared going into an interview. The experience of searching for an internship in a new environment gives you better knowledge of the industry and helps you to make direct connections with industry professionals. Even if you don't get the opportunity to work within their organization, you can expand your network and build the bridge for opportunities in the future. So I want to share some real anecdotes from recent participants who have self-sourced their internships. And there's some creative ways to find internships using social media to network, also traditional means like informal interviews, using university resources, and just cold emailing. One student who followed a specific company that she had targeted via social media and sent her CV that way. Another leveraged a visit from a host employer who had come to campus, someone who maximized previous time in the United States to expand her network and engage in some informal interviews while she was here in the US. And the last anecdote is from someone who discovered the company by simply staying abreast of industry literature and being aware and in tune with different organizations out there. So there's opportunities for international internships and ways to search for these internships everywhere. And one important thing to do is just continue to keep your eyes open. So let's discuss the open market and the hidden market for internships. The open market consists of all opportunities that can be accessed by any internship seeker. So these opportunities include placement companies, university databases, but they also include social media, online postings, internship fairs, press announcements by companies. These internships on the open market are typically easy to find and easy to access. There might be some restrictions. Maybe you need to be a student to access the university database, for example. But an internship on the open market is there because the company wants many people to know about these opportunities, and they're posting the opportunities in many places so that they have a wide network and a wide net of people that'll be applying so that the company can select the best applicant. So this makes the process more competitive due to the significant number of applications that the host organization will receive. It could be a little bit harder to stand out or to negotiate your exact goals during the application process, but these opportunities are typically the easier ones to find, and we can see some great examples of internships that were found on the open market on this slide of someone who went to an internship fair or went to a conference that included a fair and met with some representatives at the conference, and another person that had just been keeping an eye on a specific company and applying every time that they had an internship opportunity and was eventually selected for an internship there. The other side of searching for an internship is what we'd call the hidden market. The hidden market are opportunities that are not actively promoted by a company. And a significant portion of the hidden market opportunities are accessed by networking through professors, family, other students, friends. In this anecdote on the bottom left, they're a choreographer. These contacts know of companies with capacity for training or relevant opportunities, and they can help make that connection for you. In some cases, the companies where interns find internships haven't even advertised an opportunity, and they weren't actively seeking an intern. And in these cases, what happened was interns succeeded by cold contacting organizations or even proposing self-designed internships. And this route definitely requires more effort, more energy, and perhaps an ability to withstand rejection, because the companies might not, well, if they're not actively promoting opportunities, they might not have the capacity to take on an intern at the moment. So your research can be a little bit daunting. You're doing a little bit more work, and you're not sure if the company that you've identified has also identified the same needs that you think they have, and they're looking for an internship. So it's really important to make sure what you feel you bring to the organization is actually going to be a value added to that company and something they deem as an area of need. We highlight both of these options just so that anyone who's searching for an internship doesn't confine their internship search into one or the other. So we're going to move into tips next, but I just want to make sure to emphasize that the wider and deeper you cast your net searching for an internship, the more success you're going to have finding that ideal organization. And the other anecdote from this slide is, I think, a great example of perseverance of someone who plan A was to email a lot of companies. That didn't work, so she called a lot of companies. That still didn't work, and she found one company who suggested that she call a company that wasn't on her list, and she called that organization and was able to secure an internship that way. So sometimes plan A doesn't work, and sometimes plan B doesn't work. So making sure that you're casting that net as wide as possible to maximize your opportunities. So we're going to pause here for any questions that have come in so far about the internship search preparation process. And then from here, we're just going to move into actual tips once you start reaching out to organizations and once you start your search process. Fatima, do we have any questions so far?
Yes, there are a few questions that came in. A question that we have here is, I'm studying business administration and I'm interested in social media marketing. So I'm trying to learn some video edit program because of this, but in my country, I don't have too many options and I can't study in the US because of economic situation. Do you have any advice for me?
That's a good question, and I think the advice that I would give probably echoes what you had been talking about in your slides, Fatima, of using um, using this time and trying to gain any experience you have, and if that means that you're studying through software that's maybe available through open source or some other access that you can have to maximizing your skill set and using that time efficiently, even if you can't actually get the day-to-day skills in an organization. Like you had said earlier, any experience is good experience.
Great. We have another question here. It says, "Hi, I'm very interested in the graduate program, trainee program. I was in the middle of submitting my application before COVID, and then I couldn't go forward. After COVID, what visa options are available since my grad visa wouldn't be able to be approved, and it's been more than 12 months since I graduated. Is there any advice for other routes or getting for any other routes?"
I think in that case, I would recommend that you contact us at training@interexchange.org, and we'll send that information, or you'll see it in the question answer. Anything specific to a specific program, it's probably going to be easier for us to discuss with you individually, and probably not the best to give any answers here, but we can talk about that individually. And that's probably the case, I guess, for any individual's situations.
Yes, there are a few other questions here that are being asked in regards to how to find an internship that I would like to hold off from, just because we're about to go into the tips for searching internships, varying different months and different industry fields, and some other resources that we can provide you, whether it's like websites and what other ways you can go about looking for an internship. So
Great.
with that, we can maybe start the tips for searching for internships.
Sounds good. Sounds like people are eager for these tips. So we'll dive right into it. Our first tip for searching for an internship, and we've both talked about this in our slides, but networking is probably the best way to access the hidden market and to use the skills and to use the connections that you already have. So once you identify potential companies and potential fields, think about who you already know that can help make an introduction to these companies. Your network may lead to obvious connections like past and present colleagues, maybe other students, professors, but you may see connections come in unexpected places, like that slide we showed a few back with the choreographer who can make the connection. So make sure you're letting everyone in your network know of your plans and of your goals to intern abroad in the United States. You can bring it up in casual conversation. You can put it as something in your LinkedIn profile that people are aware, and it's something you can easily bring into your conversations with your network. In addition, make a list of targeted organizations that might have opportunities that aren't being posted, and reach out to these organizations with internship proposals like we talked about earlier. Even just asking for an informational interview might be something that will be helpful for you. It's a way for you to intentionally grow your network. If you don't have immediate connections to these companies, make those connections, and not necessarily in a way of asking to be brought on as an intern, especially if they don't have the capacity for it, but just informally picking their brain about what knowledge they might have. We've mentioned cold contacting or cold calling, cold emailing a little bit already in this presentation. For those of you who aren't familiar with the term, cold calling is when you reach out to people or companies that you don't know and you pitch yourself. It's typically a sales technique, but that's exactly what you're doing. You're contacting a company that you don't know, and you're selling yourself as a candidate. Cold contacting can have a high rejection rate, so you'll need to maintain a thick skin and be prepared that not every place that you cold call will have an opportunity, or even sometimes the ability to reply to your message or your email. Informational interviews are really another important way of building your network. An informational interview is an informal conversation that you will have with someone in an area of interest to you. It's an effective research tool that's usually best done after you've done a bit of research about their background. It's not a job interview, and the objective is not to get a job. It's not to get an internship. The idea is to get firsthand knowledge of the company, the industry, the position that the person does, some information that might not be available online. So you can find out about potential career paths that you didn't know existed. You can get tips and insider knowledge about how to prepare for and even land the internship. And like I said earlier, you can intentionally build your network through informational interviews. These last two bullets here are stats that really show the importance of a network. The National Association of Colleges and Employers study shows that most employers recruit using their current and former interns, and also using alumni referrals as well. So these are two important avenues of recruitment that companies use when they're looking for potential interns and new hires. So being part of that network and being part of that pipeline is very important. Fatima, I'll pass it over to you to start us off with tip number 2.
Thanks, Taman. So Taman went over a little bit about like how to network, and now we're going to talk about how to maintain a virtual impression online, and how to really like leverage your network by doing so. So chances are you probably already have created accounts on social media websites such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and even YouTube. And if you haven't, the first and easiest step to creating and maintaining a virtual impression is to really establish accounts on social networking websites that would showcase your previous experiences and skills, specifically LinkedIn. So it's important that you establish your own professional brand that is consistent through your online platforms, as social media is really all about storytelling. So before you begin working on your social media profiles, you'll want to create a statement that is unique to your brand. So you'll want to also polish your LinkedIn profile based off of this. Add a profile and a background photo, create a headline, add a summary, your relevant work experience, skills. You can also request recommendations and even connect with industry professionals that you then could obviously leverage your network. And sometimes getting hired for the job isn't always about what you know, but who you know. And that's why it's really important to start building and leveraging your network um, virtually. And creating and building your online presence will allow you to document and exhibit your work that is ultimately presented in your CV or your resume. So when you create your own website or when you're building your online presence and working on your different profiles, feel free to use samples from your class projects or previous work projects on those different platforms. And the reason why you should do this is because it's essentially your body of work. So it's definitely something you want to include in your portfolio and something you want to take advantage of in order to display the audio and visual representations of your research projects and experiences thus far. So when a professional or an employee from a company looks on your profile and they like what they see, you can then really start connecting with them and like building and leveraging your network that you started building for yourself. And we have a career guidance webinar that we further discuss how to build your online presence and really leverage your LinkedIn profile so that you can reap the benefits of having or maintaining your virtual impression online. And as you can see here are some anecdotes from previous participants. One of them did an online search for shipping companies and found a training position from his host companies on LinkedIn, and then he found it to be a great opportunity to learn more about the shipping company and then obviously reach out to that company for an internship, while another participant met his supervisor at a film conference in Vancouver, and he saw his YouTube channel and wanted to learn more from his company by doing so. So having an online presence from both the company's end and both the participants' end is really beneficial for both parties to really engage with each other and leverage your network. And so as a third tip, if you don't have a large network, a great place to start your internship search is by visiting your university career services center if you haven't already. And your university career services center really can act as your career coach. They can help you break down things that you feel are overwhelming and help you where you are in your career development. They'll help you explore career options that will align with your interests, skills, and values. So you can really nail down what really works for you, and they can help you create a direction of where you would like to go in your career. So, for example, if you are fairly creative and you're incredibly organized and a great communicator and you have no idea what that means in the workplace, the Career Services Center can help students like yourselves really connect those dots for you and recognize different opportunities that you didn't consider would be possible. So let's say maybe you would have made a great project manager in an IT setting, or even a great account manager at an ad agency. They'll really help you to kind of brainstorm with you about different avenues of what would work for you. And again, really help you wherever you are in your career development, whether that means you're putting together a resume, or they can help you prepare for an interview by doing a mock interview with yourself so you're not too nervous when you do have your interview with a potential host company. Additionally, take advantage of your university connections, such as alumni or those who are in the same organizations as you on your campus. This is another great way to build your network and utilize the resources that you have to you. So, like for example, we had previous participants who, like, their professor connected them with someone that they knew. So it's just really important to really like engage with either your professors or other students, your peers, because you never know where those opportunities lie. And also search for internships using your university job database. As you see here, one of the anecdotes from our students, they have a database at their school where other students have done their internship, and they really use that to connect with companies who have postings there, who are really looking for interns at your specifically at your university. So it's just another great way to utilize the resources you have that are just hidden right under your nose at your home university. So as the next tip, obviously one of the best ways to find an internship is to visit different career websites. Now, there are hundreds of different online internship search engines in the United States, and these following websites will really allow you to post your resume, even search listings by industry, find career advice, and discover tips for cover letters, resumes, and again, interviewing. So the resources are endless, and the opportunities are endless online. And here we have we made a list and broke it down by different industries like accounting, advertising, architecture. Again, we will share this with you so that you can further look into this further. And then there are more general internship search engines such as LinkedIn, Career Builder, Indeed, Monster, and like those were particularly like my favorites when looking for like I think for internships, just because you can also break it down by industry and location. So it's just another great way to utilize the resources that you have. Also, I do want to highlight the InterExchange host employer database. Now, this is a great place to start searching for your internship if you just kind of feel overwhelmed with the amount of different search engines that are out there. And this is a list of previous host employers who have already hosted a participant and have with career training, and they have already been vetted by InterExchange. I do want to note that not all the host employers listed on our database may be hiring, but it is a good place to start reaching out to some host employers and really inquire about whether or not they're offering internships, and the kinds of internship programs that they do offer in your industry field. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Taman, who's going to talk a little bit more about how to contact globally focused companies as part of your internship search.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I'm just gonna jump in and talk about tip number 5, contacting globally focused companies. So contacting companies with a global focus is a great idea for narrowing down the list of potential hosts. Multinational enterprises are likely to already be familiar with the visa process. Maybe they're already familiar with InterExchange. They understand how to bring on international interns, and it's unlikely that you're the first to inquire about an international internship. So the work is done for you in a certain way that someone's already blazed that trail. You might also be able to begin your internship in your home country and transition to a second internship in the United States that has maybe a bit different focus and can teach you different methodologies that might not be available in your home country. And we saw on an earlier slide about 6% of all the interns that applied in 2019 and 2020 actually trained with a branch of the company outside of the United States before they started their training in the US. Large companies also typically will run summer internship programs each year for different intern cohorts. And international students as part of a summer cohort is usually a strong benefit to the company, as your perspective is going to add a variety and perhaps a new bit of methodology and techniques to the group. Fixed dates also mean that you can plan backwards and guesstimate when next year's cycle might open. If the application for the internship cohort has had a January 1st application deadline for the last 5 years, it's likely that schedule is going to remain the same moving forward. So you can plan a little bit more strategically by looking at companies that have these organized cohort groups. And some multinational enterprises specifically seek out international interns. So you can see which companies are currently recruiting in your country. They might be visiting your campus, there might be a connection with your university, but if not, you can check out companies that are going to nearby campuses, or maybe they're going to campuses in a different part of your country, and you can't physically meet them, but you can certainly reach out to the recruiter, and even if they aren't visiting your campus, I'm sure they will appreciate the initiative that you're coming to them instead of them having to go and recruit you. So these are the type of companies that I would certainly recommend searching for internship opportunities at as you go through all of those listing websites that Fatima mentioned. Fatima, I'll let you talk a little bit about creating your own internship.
Thank you, Chapman. So if you're unsure about whether or not a company is hiring or they don't post an internship, it doesn't mean that they do not offer internships. So in fact, most companies do and would be willing to offer you an internship with the right proposal from a prospective intern. So demonstrating an interest in interning or training with a company shows that you've done your research and are a really motivated candidate. So based on the information you've gathered on the company that you'd like to work for, like earlier in as part of your internship search process, you'll want to prepare a written document outlining an internship that you would like to do with the company. So this is where you'll start creating an internship proposal. You will probably want to suggest a project for a particular department or a position for a particular need that you know that company has. And while flexibility is important, it's also important to be specific with what you would like to do and the skills that you have to offer to that company. And this is because a company is more likely to offer an internship to someone who has a plan and is goal-oriented, as opposed to someone who will just, do whatever the company assigns. So really, just showing that initiative will really set you apart. And these are just kind of like the criteria to really think about once you are thinking of creating that internship proposal and you begin documenting that. And remember, don't forget to attach your resume while you do so. And once you're done, creating your proposal, you'll want to send that proposal, just like via email to the company or either a specific person with who you have contact with, or just a general human resources department. And proposing and developing an internship takes time, and it's just one of the many ways to find an internship in your field. So please do not feel discouraged if you don't hear back from all the employers or if you don't receive positive responses. Many companies, may just be busy, and obviously remember just to follow up. Again, just remember, it's not because the host company may not like you, maybe they're not in the capacity to hire someone, but also don't be afraid to reach out, because you'll never know whether or not they'll be willing to offer an internship, or they don't know what they could be offering to an intern as well.
Awesome, thank you. So I'm just gonna wrap up with 2 more tips, and then we'll get to some of the lingering questions that we maybe haven't touched upon in the presentation. So our 7th tip is to check for new developments. If if you found really useful listing sites, maybe some of the lists that you saw in the fourth tip, or you found really interesting companies that you want to train or intern at, make sure that you are staying updated with their website. The listing sites, I would refresh those listing sites for new postings every few days, maybe even more so if it's a general search engine like the ones on the right side of the screen, Indeed and Chegg and places like that. Set up a Google alert with maybe keywords or key companies related to your internship search. That way you're staying on top of the industry, you're staying on top of the company, you're aware of any new developments as soon as they come in. And once you've identified opportunities, make sure that you're applying well in advance of the deadline. There's no guarantee that they'll keep the posting open until that date. So you want to check and make sure that if the deadline date has been pushed up, you've already submitted your application or you're aware of it. In the same vein, don't rush your application and submit something that's sloppy. Read the instructions and show that you are eager, but also organized. Also be aware of the company's timeline. It's certainly fine to follow up if you haven't heard anything in over a month, but you don't want to follow up and ask for an update if the posting says that they'll be collecting applications for 2 or even 3 months. So you can use that time while you're waiting to do a bit of research into the hiring process and what it might be like using Glassdoor or LinkedIn or people that you know that have gone through that process, so you get a sense of what the timeline might be and you're aware of when you should expect the next development. Some companies are incredibly quick and others have a more measured approach to hiring, even for interns. It's also okay to loop back within your network for new developments. If you're searching for an extended period of time, there might be updates that your network is aware of or new developments or skills that you've acquired that you might want to just mention as they go about their days and they know that, oh, you now have this certificate in data analytics, or you've now achieved a certain level of language capabilities that might help them to push you as an intern candidate. And our last but important tip to remember is to stay organized. If you're submitting multiple applications a day, it's going to be hard to keep track of all the opportunities. Make sure you put together a spreadsheet of each internship that you do apply to. Some important details to track include the internship description, the deadline, whether or not you've submitted to this program and when you did, the resume and cover letter version that you used, the point of contact. It's okay to also take a screenshot or download the internship posting. And this will be helpful if the company takes down their internship posting, but you'd like to reference it before your interview. Or maybe they post something similar as you're looking for new developments and you want to compare these two internship postings to see if it's really just the same posting and they've tweaked it, or there's actually multiple internship opportunities at the organization. Either way, you'll have the information safely stored if you download it and keep it on hand. It also doesn't hurt to keep a running list of internships that you seriously considered but didn't apply to. It might be helpful to track why you decided not to apply for the internship. If something pops up a few months later at the same company, you can save yourself a bit of time by realizing, oh, I already did some organization and some research and I realized that it's not a good fit for X, Y, and Z. I think these anecdotes on the left are two excellent examples to end with. One intern specifically zeroed in on the city of Philadelphia and approached nearly 24 companies that were located there. He researched each one and kept the details organized so that he wasn't sending a resume addressed to the wrong company or something like that. Where another intern interviewed with multiple high-end restaurants and she weighed all of her options and actually got, I think, a few different offers, and she chose one specific host. And so for both of these anecdotes, finding that internship as easily as they did would not have been possible without staying organized. With that, I see that it's just been about an hour, but I know we have a handful of questions, so I want to make sure that we get a chance to answer all those questions before time elapses. Fatima, I'll let you read off any ones that have come in. And again, any specific situations, we'll respond to you via the training account at InterExchange.
Okay, so there is one question that came in. It's like, hello, some cultural exchange organizations help applicants to secure their positions in different companies. You send them your CV and they show you the available offers. Does InterExchange offer that?
We don't offer any placement services for a lot of the reasons that I had mentioned earlier. We find that the placement can kind of confine interns to where our existing network is, and we know there's many more opportunities out there. And also our specialty is helping you through the visa process and monitoring and health and safety and well-being, and not really placement. So placement services are not something that we offer.
Great. So, hi, how do you know if they have international work remote from home for people outside of the United States?
That's a great question. A lot of companies don't post that information on their website, and it's not going to be very easy to find that information, which is where informal interviews and networking are really important. Figuring out a way to build contacts at that organization. It might be through social media, following them on social media and figuring out who would be a relevant contact. It might be through LinkedIn, seeing if you have any mutual connections. But information like that, Glassdoor is a great resource to gain some insight into companies, but it's not always easy to find that information without first building a network to the organization.
I have another question here from Nicola. She asks if she can, as a postgraduate student, can she apply for an internship?
Yes, so postgraduate doctoral students can all apply for internships as long as the internship is related to the coursework that you're studying. I think I saw a question in there earlier asking us for clarification about the trainee program versus the intern program, and we didn't really dive into those nuances to start with, but the intern program is for anyone that has coursework related to their internship that they would like to pursue. The trainee program is for those who've graduated more than a year ago and have some professional work experience, at least a year, that would align with the trainee program that they'd like to do. So the trainee program is a sister program to the intern program, but for those who've graduated more than a year ago and still want to advance their career professionally with some additional experience in the US. Sometimes companies might list it as an apprenticeship or something like that. So the names of these opportunities, whether they're internship or apprenticeship or traineeship, may vary company to company. As a sponsor, InterExchange will review and make sure that it actually means what it means as far as regulations, and it will qualify for an educational work-based learning opportunity.
So, another question here is, do internships offer the possibility of future employment considering all international individuals outside the US?
The short answer is no. At the end of the program, you do have to return home to your home country. The longer answer is that it doesn't mean that your connection with the host organization ends when your internship ends. So you might return to your home country and then rejoin that organization a few years down the line on a work visa, or come on some other type of visa that would allow you long-term employment. The purpose of the J1 program is not long-term employment, but for some participants, it helps them to get a foot in the door to an organization, and maybe they can work at the main branch back in their home country, or something of that nature.
All right, and another one is, can graduates from Central Asia apply to this internship?
Yes, any country where you can get a visa to the United States, you can apply to an internship, and you can apply for visa sponsorship. So Central Asia, Southeast Asia, Europe, anywhere where you can get a visa, you're welcome to apply.
And would we be able to find internships that only last for 4 months?
That's a great question. Internships are anywhere from 1 month to 12 months in length per visa regulation. So you can certainly do a 4-month internship. I would say that's probably one of the more common timelines, 4 to 6 months, as interns will come during the summer. But absolutely, anything that basically whatever the company and the intern have decided for an internship length, as long as it's between 1 to 12 months, that works for us.
And here's one more last questions is, what about the financial situation? Would an intern or trainee be able to gain enough to survive in the US while also paying for their own housing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. What we have decided at InterExchange as far as policy, that any program longer than 6 months, the host employer must compensate the intern or trainee at least local minimum wage. So that's going to vary state to state, city to city. But if the program is longer than 6 months, we do require that the host organization provides that compensation. If the program is less than 6 months, we don't have that same requirement, though we do encourage it. And I was actually just looking at this statistic this morning, close to 80% of all participants through InterExchange in 2019 received some form of financial compensation from their host employer. So that's an important thing to consider when you're searching for internships. If the internship is not paid, how much will it cost you to live in the United States for an extended period of time, and do you have the savings to support yourself? But we've found that a majority of the host organizations that we work with actually do provide compensation to participants. So I can't speak to your individual financial situation, but I would certainly recommend that that's an important consideration during your search.
Um, and we have another one that just came in from Jennifer. She goes, can you apply for an internship at any time of the year?
That's a great question to end with. Yes, there is no deadline. There is no formal application period through InterExchange. That being said, different companies are going to have different deadlines. So the summer cohorts might only be available for certain months of the year to apply to. But on our end at InterExchange, we have interns who arrive every month of the year. With
Um,
oh.
oh no, go ahead, Tam. Sorry.
I was going to wrap up, but if another question came in, I'm happy to answer.
Someone just wanted to quickly ask, I know you touched base on this, but if there's any age limit, I think you had cut out at that moment when you
Oh,
were speaking. They
I'm I'm
weren't able to.
I'm glad that we can go over that again then. So there is no age limit for the J1 intern or the J1 trainee program. So if you're at any age, as long as career-wise it makes sense for you to be doing an internship, you're eligible for the program. But with that, there's some excellent questions that came in, and I know there was some specific questions about people's country where they're applying from or visa situation. So we'll follow up with some of those questions individually. And again, everyone who registered will get a copy of this presentation, so you can review some of those links that Fatima showed and some of the tips that we have. But thank you again, everyone, for joining us today, and I hope this was useful.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.